Hey guys, Dennis here,
Chrissy.
and Muddy Water Search and Recovery, and we are going to go over the timeline in Randy Leach's case. If you remember, we were going to do this in our last live feed, but we're releasing this now as a video, and this coming Sunday night, we will be doing the full open discussion covering the entire live feed. Also, remember, we are very aware that a lot of this information contradicts each other. People have come out later and changed their statements. Everything you're going to hear today came from the leaked documents,
Yes.
and it's all statements to law enforcement. So that is what we're using for this live feed, and in the open discussion, make notes of any inconsistencies, contradictions,
Absolutely.
and bring that up Sunday night in the live feed. We can break it down and rebuild this basically.
We're going to give you guys kind of a sneak peek into what might have happened on the first night. And I'm just telling you now, how many we got here, Denny?
That there is just the April 15th of 1988. And
That's
we
just
have
one.
just as much to go through
Oh,
for
yeah.
April 16th of
Yeah.
1988.
So this is going to be interesting. I like how we're going to do this. It's nice to have a timeline together of what might have happened. So, all right.
Since there's so much that's going to be discussed in this, we're going to jump right into it.
All right. So, April 15th, 1988. Randy and, the time, 10 a.m. And it says Randy and father, which would be Harold, went to Lawrence, Kansas, and Randy picked up a John Deere mower he wanted for doing his lawn work. We stopped by Sonic Drive-In and got a hamburger and came home. Randy was all excited about the new mower. 4 p.m., Alberta. We all had decided that this was the right thing to do. Alberta and Randy went to Bonner Springs, Kansas, to the savings and loan to draw enough money out for our savings to buy the John Deere mower that Randy had decided on. Alberta and I had talked about how Randy was feeling about all of this later that evening. Alberta told me Randy and her had talked about if this was what he thought he really wanted to do. He said it was. Alberta also told me in their conversation, Randy had said to her, "Mom, you couldn't have picked me a better dad." In some ways, this is very satisfying and helpful, but in other ways, it makes the hurt so bad at times I can hardly stand the pain deep within me when I think what might have been.
And that when it was saying Alberta and I, his mom and I, it's referencing Harold. This was in the documents that Harold had said. I also do want to take a moment real quick and say thank you very much to Jennifer. I believe she's the one who put this all together, and she gave us permission to use this timeline.
Awesome. Okay, so April 15th, 7 p.m. This is between Harold, Alberta, and Darren. Randy's cousin Darren stopped by and wanted to take Randy in a ride in another truck he had bought. They drove to Linwood to try it out and were back in about an hour. Randy was home the rest of the evening. Later on that night, 9 p.m., between Harold and Alberta, Friday, rode with father to Lawrence, Kansas to pick up lawnmower Randy had decided on the day before. And this is around midnight. Harold, he ate pizza for dinner with father at home. And the next one is same time frame. Bobby Wilson, sees Randy. Sees Randy in a GMC truck at Stout's Corner. Okay, that's it for that one. Okay, the next one. 1 p.m. Harold in Alberta mowed job for 3 hours, then mowed for an hour at home, then polished up the tractor, and could not have been happier about his new lawnmower.
And keep in mind, this did jump back to 1 p.m. and it's still the 15th.
Yeah. 4:30 p.m., Randy leaves home. as stated in the missing persons report. Do you want me to read that little bit? Okay. One more here from me. April 15th at 4:30, Bobby Wilson and Tammy Trotter arrive at the party. 5 p.m., Keith Finlay arrives at the party. He arrives by himself. Denny, do you want me to keep going or you got it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. April 15th, 5 p.m., Mr. Spring sees Hitchhiker. Hitchhiker described as being a white male, age not legible in the statement, 5'8", 5'9", about 200 pounds, red hair, ruddy complexion, and wearing a green backpack. Subject acted funny, sort of lost, but at the same time didn't want anyone to notice him. 5 p.m., Harold and Alberta showered and got ready to go out with cousin Darren Leach as they normally did on the weekends. 6 p.m., April 15th, Billy Finley arrives at the party. Between 6 p.m. and 7:58 p.m., Deanna Franklin, Pam Johnson, Janice Pitts, and Brenda Burns arrives at the party. Deanna Franklin states they arrived before dark. The sun set about 7:58. Says she, Stephanie, what's her name? Brett. I'm sorry if I ruined that. And Brenda Burns left at 1 period to get food in Bonner Springs, but didn't know the time. Let's see. 6:30 to 7:30, April 15th. Kenny Huffman sees Randy. Kenny sees Randy in the front of the telephone building in Linwood. They moved to the old K-32 and Stranger Bridge. They spoke about Randy's car, and Randy was normal and mentioned going to a party in Lenape. Between 6:30 and 7, Bobby Wilson leaves the party. He leaves to get ice. He sees Randy at Stout's Corner in a gray 4-door Dodge 600. He entered the store and said hi to Randy. He sees Randy exit the store and go to the car that belongs to someone also known as Dennis. Randy sits in his driver's seat and Dennis is in the passenger seat. Bobby went back to the party and didn't leave. I'll let you pick up on that one now.
At 6:30 p.m., Spencer White sees Randy. Randy is playing basketball across from the library Spencer is playing basketball across from the library when Randy stopped in his car. They talked for about 15 to 20 minutes. He seemed normal. Randy seemed normal. He asked Randy if he was going to the party, which Randy said, "Yes, I am going to see the man with the pipe." Between 6:30 and 7 p.m., Tony...
I want to say it's Istus.
I'm going to go with that. Sees Randy. Randy was seen in Linwood in a gray car.
And keep going? You want me to do it?
Yeah, take over this stuff on me.
6:30, Harold in Alberta. He left home driving a recently purchased used 1985 gray Dodge 600 family car.
And that is when Randy...
Oh, yes, Randy left the house. Between 6:30 and 7, Mr. Robin Leach sees Randy. Mr. Leach, with no relation, by the way, is unclear if he saw Randy on 415 between 1830 and 1900, if you know military time.
6:30 and 7.
Yes. Or 416 between 8 or 8:30. But he did see Randy at the Linwood Cafe wearing a dark blue t-shirt with Arkansas written across the front and blue jeans and no belt. Randy walked in the front door, went to the kitchen, looked in, and turned around and walked back out of the building. This is still April 15th, 6:35 p.m. He stopped at his uncle's and aunt's to pick up Darren. They always went out on the weekends. Darren was in Kansas City, Kansas, at his grandma's house pouring for a new sidewalk and had not gotten home yet. 6:55, Robin Leach, no relation, Kevin Smith, and Billy Turner in the restaurant looking maybe for Steve Doherty. Also about this time, Randy was seen talking to Teresa Holden by the tavern. I could turn the page here. Still, April 15th, 7 p.m., David Hyatt arrives at the party. David specifies he was by himself. He states he was one of the first to arrive. Between 7 p.m. and 7:30, Cindy Finley and Jeff Stout arrive at the party. The only people she knew at the Irwin are the Irwins and her brothers. Okay. You want to pick up, or you want me to keep going?
At 7 p.m., Mr. Springs sees the hitchhiker for the second time. Subject was south of Linwood, walking down a service road that dead ends at the river on Harry Malone's property. 7 to 7:45 p.m., Bobby Wilson returns to the party. He came back and didn't leave again. 7 to 8 o'clock p.m., Steve sees Randy. Randy came into the Linwood Cafe where Steve was working. 7 p.m., Teresa Holden sees Randy. Teresa sees Randy on K32 heading east out of Linwood. Kenny Huffman is following him in a 1979 mint green T-Bird. 7 p.m., Amy Osborne and David Hyatt arrive at the party. There is a note, this contradicts David's statement. David states he arrived alone.
Yeah.
Hers is different,
Yeah.
but we will cover
Right.
that Sunday.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, 7 p.m., April 15th. Randy Rex Smith, the clerk. Randy arrived at Stout's convenience store in Linwood. He bought 2 Pepsis, 2 candy bars, and $3 worth of gas. Randy always put the gas back in that he used. 7:15 to 7:30. Travis Leach sees Randy. Randy is seen at Stout's corner drinking a Pepsi. 7:15, Kenny Huffman, the neighbor boy. Randy was at the old iron bridge at the edge of town with Kenny Huffman. Kenny says he's smoked him up. 7:40, Tracy Blackburn, a friend of Randy and of Holden. Randy has been finishing up a conversation with Steve Doherty in the alley behind an old store where he lived. By Stacy Blackburn, who then talked to Randy. She said Randy seemed to be his old self. 7:50, Steve Doherty. Randy picked up Steve Doherty on Main Street at the Town Tavern. Steve said they never left Linwood. Go ahead, because I gotta.
7:55 p.m., David Meltzer, Jenny Wolf, and Rob Wolf arrived at the party. 8 to 8:30 p.m., Chris Finlay arrives at the party. He came by himself before everybody else. 8 o'clock to 9:20 p.m., Ray Searles sees Randy. Randy and Steve come to Ray's body shop in DeSoto between 8 and 9 p.m. Randy asked about his car. Steve and Ray make small talk. Randy is pretty quiet. They only stay about 20 minutes, then they leave there. 8 to 8:15 p.m., Steve and Randy leave the cafe. It was just starting to get dark. They left and went straight to DeSoto to see Randy's car. They were in Randy's mom's gray car, and it was about a 20-minute drive.
At 8 p.m., Stacy Blackburn sees Randy. Stacy saw Randy on 415 behind her house in the alley, leaving from talking to Steve Doherty around 8 p.m. Randy was in his car and stopped to talk to Stacy. That was the only time she saw him on that day and ever since. 8 p.m. to 9:58 p.m. Deanna Franklin sees Randy. About 2 hours after arriving, this would be about the time frame, she saw Randy walking from the line to the, is that line
The
or the fire? From the fire to the garage. 8:15 p.m. Ray Searles, I hope I said that right. Ray's brother Gene was there. Randy and Steve was at Ray's Sollers, I hope we're getting that right, body shop in DeSoto, where Randy's Mustang was being restored in time for graduation. 8:30 to 8:50, Steve and Randy arrived at the body shop. Gene and Ray are the only ones there. Steve talks to Ray. Randy talks about his car. They leave after about 20 minutes and go back to Linwood.
8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., Janice Pitts, Brenda Burns, Pam Johnson, and Deanna Franklin arrived at the party, and there were 20 to 30 people there at this point in time. At 8:45, Ray Searles left the party. At 9 p.m., Travis Leach, Tara Smith, Rusty Wallace, and April Woody arrived at the party.
All right. Let's see. 9 p.m. Did you, Randy, drop Steve Doherty off at home?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where we're at.
Okay. 9 p.m. Randy dropped Steve Doherty off at home. Page turn. Sorry. Okay. 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. David. Okay. Oliveras, Steve Hatch, and Ed Moore arrive at the party. 9 p.m. Chad and Derek Hendricks, Vince Pete, Leanne Hull, Jerry Vanberg, Irene Rayers, and Don Lanou arrive at the party. Only Derek remembered seeing Randy after a picture was shown to them, and only because Randy was messed up. 9 p.m. Steve Hagg arrived at the party. He came by himself. 9 p.m. to 10, Jeannie sees Randy. She heard a car door slam and saw 3 people walking towards the gate of the pasture where the fire was. She felt they parked close to the gate. She says one was Randy and 2 others described in her statement. 9 p.m. to 9:30, Lee Ayers and Leanne Turner arrive at the party. 9:05, Steve and Randy arrive at Stout's Corner. Steve buys a 12-pack of beer. Randy and Steve talk to Jim Hattie. Is that right? Hadel, excuse me. When Randy goes over to talk to some guys that can't start their truck. Go ahead. 9:10. There it is.
9:10 to 9:45, Lee Ayers sees Randy. He does not mention Randy's state or anything other than he first sees Randy between 9:10 and 9:45. 9:15 p.m., Mike Johnson and Paul Finlay arrive at the party. 9:15 p.m., Steve Doherty. Randy let Steve Doherty out at the tavern in Linwood. Steve offered Randy a beer, and Randy said no thank you. 9:30 to 9:45 p.m., Travis Leach sees Randy. Travis sees Randy up by the house. Robbie and Kelly are in front of Randy. 9:30 p.m., Chad and Derek Hendricks, Vince Pete, Leanne Hull, Jerry Vanderberg, Irene Reyes, and Don Lanou leave the party. They said they wouldn't have left so soon, but the Irwins acted like they weren't invited, so they went ahead and left.
9:30 to 10, Steve Hatch, David, I can never pronounce that. Oh, how do you say his name again?
Oliveras.
Oliveras, and Ed Moore arrive at the party. Oop. Okay, is that where we left? Okay.
Paul Finlay.
Okay, 9:30 to 10, Paul Finley and Mike Johnson arrive at the party. 9:30, Joe Wilson Sr. went home and caught the 10 o'clock news. Randy was talked to inside Stouts and was perceived to have been his old friendly self by Joe Wilson. Jim Haddle, right?
Yeah.
Was sitting in Randy's car. Haddle was not talked to. 9:30 to 10, Ted Reed arrives at the party. 9:30, Holly Brower sees Randy. Randy was pretty drunk, stumbling, and fell off a chair. She didn't see him drive up. 9:30 to 10, Janice sees Randy. Janice sees Randy leaning against a car in the garage. Appears not to be in very good condition. All right, 9:30 to 10, Tony Istis and Johnson arrive at the party. Parked near the house, sees Randy walking from the pasture or the fire towards the house. 9:30, Pam Johnson, Deanna Franklin, and Janice Pitts arrive at the party. 9:40 to 10:10, Paul Finley sees Randy. About 10 minutes after arriving, Paul sees Randy. Randy was already drunk. You want to keep going? You got it.
Go for it.
At 9:40, Brian Smith said he didn't want to go to the party. Was at Stout's talking to Brian Smith. 9:45 to 10:15. Ted.
Go back to the other. That was when Randy told Brian he wasn't going to.
Okay. 9:45 to 10:15. Ted Reed and Swan leave. They go to get fireworks and return. 9:45 to 10 o'clock, Steve Hagg sees Randy. Randy was in front of the garage, already intoxicated. Steve didn't see Randy's car or hear talk about his keys. 9:45, Stephanie Broad arrives at the party. 10 p.m., David Hyatt sees Randy. David has conversation with Randy, who was by himself. Randy was coherent but laughing at everything. And 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, David, Oliveris, I am so sorry, sees Randy. Randy was leaning up against the garage door. Randy was messed up. This is the only time he saw Randy. 10 o'clock, Travis Leach. Randy was at the bonfire, tripped over Travis Leach, a cousin, fell down. Wasn't perceived as drinking. At 10 p.m., Scott Smith, Robbie Marble, and Kelly Powell arrived at the party. 10 o'clock, Keith and Kim Kaufman leave the party. Per mother's statement, Mrs. Kaufman also stated her son's girlfriend, Leanne Cook, saw Randy sitting in Leanne Turner's car. 10 o'clock. Oh my goodness, Pam, how do you say her name? Gulami, I am so sorry, arrives at the party. She sees Randy around the same time. She did not know Randy and can't say what condition he was in. 10:05, Amy Osborne sees Randy. She sees Randy about this time. David Hyatt says hello to Randy. Amy nodded and walked off. Randy had a beer in his hand and one in his shirt pocket. Randy seemed depressed, not walking around. 10:15, Adrian Swan. Randy was arguing with ex-girlfriend Pam Phillips. Pam says she wasn't at the party. 10:15, Amy Osborne leaves the party. 10:15, Steve Hagg leaves the party. 10:20, Scott Smith sees Randy. Sees Randy walking between the house and the fire. 10:30, Travis leaves the party. When leaving, he saw Randy sitting on a chair on the porch. He never stated who was with him when he left. At 10:30, David Metzler sees Randy. David was introduced to Randy by Kim when he walked up to the fire with two other guys, one of which was wearing a ball cap and had red hair. Randy was wobbling, but Davey didn't see Randy with a drink all night. 10:30, Adrian Swan. Huffman is seen walking away from the fire, following Randy, with his hand on Randy's shoulder as if to keep up with Randy. Huffman says he wasn't at the party.
10:30 to 11 o'clock, April Woody, Travis Leach, and Rusty Wallace arrived at the party. At 10:30 p.m., Derek McCollum arrives at the party. He stated Randy was already there and messed up. As Derek was walking up towards the house, he saw Randy coming up from the fire. 10:30 p.m., Mike Johnson and Paul Finley leave the party. When they were leaving, they saw Randy inside of a 1976 to a 1977 Chevy Malibu with the door open and his head on the steering wheel. The car was parked by the house.
10:30 to 11, Tony Istis and Johnson leave the party. 10:30 to 11:30, Tammy Trotter arrives at the party. 10:30, Stephanie Brarrett sees Randy. She first saw Randy around 22:30, which is 11:30, by the fire talking to Buddy Johnson. 10:30, excuse me. By the fire talking to Buddy Johnson, Tony Istis, Pam Johnson, Dwayne Irwin, Christine Huffman, and Troy Chambers. Randy fell backwards onto the ground and started laughing. Tony Istis helped him back up and took him towards the house. 10:30, Brenda Burns, Pam Johnson, Deanna Franklin, and Janice Pitts arrive at the party. 10:50, Leanne Turner goes to her car to get a Coke. Randy is laying in the back seat of her car. You want to do it or me?
11 p.m., Keith Finley leaves the party. 11 p.m. to midnight, Scott Smith says Marble and Kelly Powell leave. Randy offers Scott a ride home. 11 p.m., Ted Reed sees Randy. Randy is intoxicated. They make small talk. Randy has a beer in his hand and one in his shirt pocket. Scott Smith sees Randy 11 to 11:30 p.m. He talks to Randy by the fire. David Hagg, Robbie Marble, and Kelly Powell are present at the time.
11 p.m., Pam Johnson sees Randy. Randy is seen walking from the fire to the garage area. He seems drunk because he is unbalanced and staggering. 11 p.m. to midnight, Jeannie sees Randy. Randy walks up to the fire area and falls on the doghouse Jeannie was leaning on. He stayed for about 5 minutes, then walked towards the garage. He appeared unbalanced and not intoxicated. She never saw him with a drink. 11 p.m., Janice Pitts leaves the party. Janice leaves in Deanna Franklin's red Fairmount to go look for Franklin's boyfriend that left the party. She checked the back roads for him but didn't find him and returned to the party. 11 p.m., Bobby Wilson sees Randy. Randy is intoxicated. Randy was around the garage for about 30 minutes. 11:15, Leanne Turner. Randy and Leanne walk up the drive and meet her boyfriend Lee Ayers. I wonder if Ayers might have been mad about this. Leanne says she did not take Lee home. How did he get home? 11:15, Steve Hagg returned to the party. 11:30, Cindy Finley and Jeff Stout leave the party. 11:30 to midnight, Stephanie Barrett, Buddy Johnson, Laura Franklin, Tony Istis, Troy Chambers, Christine Huffman, they all leave the party. They leave to go watch movies at Stephanie's house in Linwood. 11:30, David Hyatt leaves the party. David last saw Randy when David left the fire and left the party. 11:30 to midnight, Robbie Wolf sees Randy. He first saw Randy around 23:30 to midnight when Randy fell onto the doghouse as described in Jeannie's statement. He asked Randy if he had any problems, which Randy responded, excuse our language, fuck you, and mumbled something that Robbie couldn't understand. Robbie states Randy was his balance was poor as well as his speech pattern. He didn't see Randy drinking anything. 11:30, Adrian Swan. Randy is seen by the front door. Robbie Marble, Scott Smith, Kelly Powell are playing keep away with Randy's car keys as he is trying to grab them. 11:45, Steve Hagg leaves the party. 11:50, April, Woody, and Travis Leach leave the party. They see Randy standing by his car, which is parked across from the school buses. They say goodbye. Rusty mentions that an older guy named Kenny was also gone. 11:50. Adrian Swan says Randy was starting to get better. Randy is on the east end of the garage outside. Scott Smith and some others tackle Randy to the ground for a few seconds and then get up and walk away. And that, is that it?
And that is the
Yeah.
timeline that we have for April 15th of 1988. And we still have the 16th that we will
Yeah.
be going through.
Yeah.
But as you can see with just that little bit, there is so much.
There's so much going on, and it may seem kind of confusing. We apologize if names weren't correct or whatnot. But, I mean, this timeline is just, the more I read, the more I just kind of went, what? What? So
you've got 20 different people
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
Randy is in a different location
Yeah.
in a different state of mind. His actions
He
are
acts
different.
drunk, but he's not drunk. He, it's very odd. I mean, wow. Wow.
And
So.
we're trying to find consistencies
Oh, yeah.
in these statements.
Yeah.
Just so far, that's been
Yeah. It's
few and far between.
yeah, it's been very, very sparse with but hopefully you guys could understand what we were talking about. Hopefully it makes sense to you guys. So.
And also keep in mind, these are straight from the police reports.
Right.
So anything anybody has said later in interviews on social media, YouTube
Yeah.
channels, podcasts, those have not been added to this. This is strictly from the police reports, and we're not in any way trying to say this is exactly how it happened,
Oh, yeah.
but this is how it was reported.
Right. I mean, like I said, this was how many pages? 97, 96
There-
pages
there's
or
going to
something.
be 97
I mean,
pages
this was
total.
just what we read for you guys tonight. So, yeah. Gosh, my goodness.
So guys, we're going to end the video here with this, with
Yeah.
the April 15th, 1988. Tomorrow night, the April 16th, 1988 timeline will be released to you as well.
Yeah.
And we really, really encourage you, take notes on these, write down inconsistencies, any changes that you know of. Sunday night when we do our live feed, bring those to our attention so we could discuss those.
Yep. So, like I said, I hope you guys could understand us. There was a lot of time jumping back and forth, but this is just how it went. So, makes good sense to us. I mean, we understood it. Hopefully, you guys can too.
So with that,
Anyway.
guys, till next time, you guys stay safe, and we will see you guys down the road.
Bye.